Oliver, I'm delighted to have you join us today. We're going to be talking about hiring at board level.
Thank you so much for having me.
You are the COO of Nurole, a business that was founded by your mother. Tell me a little bit more about what you do there.
Sure. So Nurole is an online board level hiring platform connecting board and C-level leaders with opportunities that inspire them. It's unique because it flips the traditional search process on its head, allowing individuals to put themselves forward rather than waiting for a tap on the shoulder or someone else to think of them.
One of the big challenges many boards face is achieving that balance of experience and diversity. And we speak to many boards who are really challenged with finding that right mix of people. And I've heard things like the talent pool isn't big enough, it's not mature enough just yet. What's your view on that?
Drives me mad when I hear people saying that. I think it's a failure of imagination. To us, it's a simple process. It's about casting your net wide enough. So the analogy I use in explaining this to people is, it's like if you want to find someone who in a 100-meter running race is going to be capable of beating Usain Bolt. And you could go around asking around your local village, does anyone know anyone fast? And chances are someone will know someone who's quite fast, but when they line up alongside Usain Bolt, they're going to look pretty slow. And in a way, it's the same with board directors. If you go around asking your network, or even if you ask a headhunter to ask around their network, you're tapping into a very small pool. If you can enlarge that pool and you want to find the person who's 1 in a million, not 1 in 100, and you can access that level of scale, suddenly you can access completely different candidate pool.
In practice, what do you do differently at Nurole?
It's all about scale. So we'll take a role and we'll match it with the members on our platform. We've got over 20,000 board level members. They're spread across over 100 countries, and it ranges from FTSE 100 250. We have over 40% of the FTSE 100 250 registered on the platform, through to some of the leading digital sort of startup CEOs. When a role goes up, it gets matched with them, and those people can either apply or they can recommend people from their networks themselves. And so you get this massive scaling effect. It's that concept of 6 degrees of separation boiled down into one, using technology to connect. And we've seen this time and time again. The first time you see it, it feels like it's just serendipity. One of, I think, my favourite stories was when a board who were looking for someone who could help them navigate their digital challenges. They were coming under threat from sort of digital players in their space, and they recognized in the room there was no one who had that digital expertise. And they put a role on the platform, and someone recommended a friend of theirs who at the time was running Amazon in China, who, when you looked at them from the outside, you would have said, well, they've got far too much on their plate, they're over the other side of the world, there's just no way they've got time to take this on. But what they didn't know was that what the person who recommended them knew was that person had just been asked by Jeff Bezos to come back and run Amazon in the UK, and their absolute passion was this was a non-profit board actually, was what that charity did. They'd been to stay in a lot of their properties and were just passionate about it, so they were prepared to clear the decks to make time available for it. And you see that time and time again. It's that sort of inside knowledge that only individuals know about themselves. That fosters this completely sort of unexpectedly perfect outcomes.
So say you're looking to diversify your board, not just in terms of, having the right quotient of women on there, but real thinkers and kind of diversity of age and outlook as well. What does a good shortlist look like? How do you ensure that you end up with the right candidate? Because a lot of people start with a shortlist. Is that still the right thing to do?
We're very wary of diversity for diversity's sake. There's a lot of research out there, and people often claim that it's been shown that diversity leads to better boards, and personally I've yet to see anything that actually proves that conclusively. It's a very difficult thing to show because ultimately you need to do an A/B test, and there are so many variables. It's very difficult to show. What we think is that diversity is actually it's a symptom of a well-run board. It's not necessarily the driver of a well-run board. So if you cast your net wide enough and you reach out to a broad enough group of people, naturally the best people, the most sort of cognitively diverse thinkers will surface up, and they will come from different ages, different genders, different ethnicities, and it naturally happens. And that's what we're seeing happening on the platform. We're seeing raised levels of diversity coming up through these board searches, but not because we're actively going after it, but because if you put the control into the hands of the candidate, and you're not suffering from the sort of cognitive bias, the lens of someone, an individual or a team going out to select who might be right for a role, that diversity naturally comes around.
So in terms of having a shortlist, is it good? Is that where you should start?
I think, I mean, you've got to start with a long list, and we think you need to focus on what it is that board member is going to contribute to your board. Think if they've done a great job in 3 to 5 years' time, what is it that they will have helped you achieve? Then open it up and let people show you how they can go about helping you deliver that. And one of the things that we see is companies often looking to go out to hire one particular board member, and they end up hiring 3 or 4 because they suddenly realize they can't do without any of the different characteristics, and they come from completely different backgrounds. So the shortlist is very much at the end stage of the process. You've got to start with a broad, long list, really open it out, get a diverse range of profiles coming in, and then that's where, you know, having a really good search partner, a great headhunter or an in-house talent team who can help you narrow that down and be very clear about what it is each of those candidates offers and how that matches up against what you're looking to achieve, then becomes critical, but it's at that later stage.
When you work with boards on a particular search, either with a headhunter or directly for them, what are the sort of challenges you observe, let's say in the listed sector? Let's start there. We've touched on sort of diversity there, but what are the big challenges you see boards grappling with when it comes to the people they have around the table?
Yeah, I mean, diversity is definitely up there. Digital is a constant trend that we're seeing. People looking for individuals who can help their organisation navigate through the different forms of digital transformation, and whether that's changing the cost side and the delivery side, the user experience side, or whether that's around marketing and sales. We've also seen an interesting trend around more millennials starting to come through, where there's a light bulb moment we're seeing some chairs starting to have, where they suddenly realize that sort of understanding the millennial consumer, the millennial employee, the millennial shareholder, is they recognize that's something completely different, and they look around the table and, you know, the average age is well past sort of millennial stage. And when you have a big enough board, actually you can afford to have someone who doesn't necessarily have the grey hairs but brings that different perspective.
So are you saying there that you're having actual millennials, so people in their 20s, sitting on the board?
Yeah. I think, you know, you can bring a different energy. The sort of the research that I have seen that I do find convincing is around that cognitive diversity. And there are interesting pieces there around sometimes actually having, if you have a team of all high performers, you can actually end up with a worse outcome than a team that has a mixture of high performers and low performers, because you've got the person in there who can ask the stupid question. When, you know, all the experts in the room just take it as a given. And so I'm sure that has a role to play as well.
Oliver, thank you for sharing your insights with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.